And when you look at the Cardinals and you say, well, they went through 39 games where they could beat anybody, and they did beat everybody. I mean, they did beat the Yankees. They swept them at home. I mean, they won a hard-fought series. This was the first 39 games after the All-Star break. They had a really hard-fought series against the Braves, and they won that too. And they had a couple other tests in there, and they showed very, very well. They played the Dodgers tough, should have won that series. They lost 2-1. It's not the end of the world. I mean, they went to Toronto, won that second game of that series, and that sort of sent them on their way. But for 39 games, I mean, they had everything clicking as far as their hitting. But as much credit as, look, we said, well, Lars Nootbaar really ignited him. He did, as good as Brendan Donovan has been doing, which he still is in terms of getting on base, which doesn't get talked about enough. I know, and I don't mean to take a shot, but Jim Edmonds is always talking about Brendan Donovan's batting average. What he needs to talk about is his on-base percentage, which, well, at least going into Sunday was, he was in the 390s. I mean, that's really impressive stuff because it's all about avoiding outs in baseball. You got a rookie who can get on base and avoid an out 40% of the time. That's something that gets an offense going. So Brendan Donovan's been really good, and I could go right on down the list. But it still is all centered around Goldschmidt and Arenado. And, I don't feel like, well, maybe I shouldn't identify them and put pressure on them, and it sounds like criticism. It's not criticism. If anything, it's praise because you're just acknowledging the obvious thing, which is how important they are. Not one of them, both of them. And they have been fighting it lately, and that's the number one reason why this offense has been waning. They have 2 home runs. The last 15 games where the Cardinals offense really started to plummet. And they're averaging like 3.5 runs over that time. In 15 games, I think they scored no more than 4, like 11 times out of the 15. They had 6 times where they scored 2 or less. They're really feeling it offensively. Well, over that stretch, I put this note on Twitter today. Over the last 15 games, Molina and Donovan have hit as many home runs between them, 5, as the entire total in 192 at-bats by Goldschmidt, Arenado, ONeill, Nootbaar, and Gorman. Those guys put together have 5 home runs. Molina's not a power hitter. Donovan's not a power hitter per se. But that group, led by Goldie and Arenado, and the other ones put in there that do have power for sure, they've hit 5 home runs altogether, which is the same as Molina and Donovan, the 2 of them put together. That tells you right there that there's some malfunction in this offense. In the last 15 games, Arenado and Goldie have 2 home runs and 9 RBIs combined in 246 at-bats. And they're, Arenado's batting 212, Goldie 234 over that time. I have to check that one stat. I don't think it's been 246. I think I typed in, this is a typo, I'll correct it. Since his 2 home run, 5 RBI game back on August 25th, Goldschmidt's batting 227 with 2 homers and 90 plate appearances. Arenado has got 1 home run in 59 at-bats in September. So this offense ain't going to go anywhere. I mean, Pujols can get to 704 home runs. Nootbaar can get hot. Donovan can continue to do well. Tommy Edman can continue to do well. Maybe Dylan Carlson starts to hit. All of that's well and good, and the Cardinals need that because no 2 guys can carry a team. But if these guys, the 2 best position players in the National League based on WAR, 2 guys who in their own right are MVP candidates, if you can't get meaningful, substantial offense out of them rest of the season, but especially in the postseason, listen, man, it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. And I think the Cardinals bench is better than it's been. And I know they have more options. And I know they have a manager who knows how to use his players and who's very, very good at finding the platoon split matchups and everything else. But if these 2 guys are relative to their own standards, if these 2 guys are quiet, it doesn't. All the other guys, it matters what they do, but it's a pretty tough thing to overcome if these 2 guys don't get moving again. So that's, to me, if you say, well, what's the number one question down the stretch? To me, the final 2 weeks, which we enter tomorrow, that would be the number one question to me.
I think that's 100% accurate. If your 3 and 4 guys aren't hitting in any lineup anywhere in baseball, you're not going to win, and that's exactly what they are. And then you throw in the fact that what they've meant this year to this franchise and to that lineup is probably much more than other lineups in baseball. That's how important they are. And Goldie especially. And he has been, well, heck, at times, Bernie, you gave out the numbers. He was having his best season of his career. And
no doubt.
And now he has regressed. And there's not saying he can't get back to it, but because he's regressed, it's like, ooh, there's a hole there. That's not the same thing.
Big hole.
And he got the day off again yesterday. He gets a day today. Hopefully, that's twice now in a couple weeks he's got back-to-back days off. I hope that helps him get right, whatever it is. If it's an ouchie or if it's just, just need to take some time and reorganize the swing. I hope that all fixes it, because if it means, I would even say this, I'd go this far with it, Bernie. If it means, you need to give him 3 days to get him right, then give him 3 days. I don't care. I at this point, you've got the lead for the division. If it takes that much to get him back to where he needs to be, I would give him all the time in the world, because I think he means that he's that important to what goes on with this offense and this baseball team.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. But it's also Arenado. I mean, again, it's both of them.
Uh-huh.
They need both of them firing. I mean, it's just one of them getting hot and the other not. It'll help because at least one of them's hot. But they both got to get going, because if Goldie's heating up, but Arenado's still really wrestling to get his offense going again, to me they're like equally important. That's why they're number 1 and number 2 in the league in WAR. The Cardinals are a dramatically different offense when both of these guys are going pretty good at the same time, So, and I think they'll come out of it. History tells us they will, but, you can't really assume anything. I mean, that's the point, right? It's just, you just really can't assume anything because, again, it's not like there's 35 games left. They're down to 14 games now.
Yes.
So that's kind of a big deal for me. Anyway, I had something wrong that I'm about to correct. It's about 100 at bats they had since over the last 15 games. I hate typos. My second question. All right, so the number one biggest question about the Cardinals for their final 2 weeks, and then going into the postseason, which is a new season, but it's still, it all starts with the final 2 weeks to see if they can get, to just sort of get back on track offensively. The other thing is the state of the outfield. We'll talk about this at length tomorrow, but it's pretty disturbing when you see how this offense is kind of falling apart. This outfield, I meant to say this outfield is falling apart. This outfield, the second half of last season, the numbers were phenomenal. It was one of the top 3 outfields offensively in Major League Baseball. And in the month of September, it was the top outfield in Major League Baseball. Bader was hitting. ONeill was having a career year. Carlson slugged over 500 in the second half of the season. They were hitting home runs. They were driving in runs. They were hitting doubles. They were stealing bases. And you're looking at this, and you're like, wow, this has ignited a whole new realm of offense for the St. Louis Cardinals. And they're all pretty young. They're all under contract control and all that stuff, and you're thinking the Cardinals are pretty much set. They get a good fourth outfielder, they're good to go. And look at how it's fallen apart this year. Bader was having a struggling this year. A lot of it had to do with the foot. His defense wasn't as strong as it was last year when he won the Gold Glove. Carlson has been a major disappointment. Look, I love the kid. I hope he turns it around. But we expected him to be better this year after what happened in the second half of last season when he was so exceptional. But he's gotten worse. He can't hit right-handed pitching. Now you got this thumb issue. Tyler O'Neill, I don't know what to say anymore. As someone who Jim Hewer will tell all of you, I've defended so many times. I've urged patience. I don't have much of that left anymore. I mean, after what he did last year, and he put everything together, and we saw what the results would be if he does that. He finally did it. He's just had a major, major regression. And I'm sorry, but a lot of it started with hiring, a wartime agent, Scott Boras, taking the Cardinals to arbitration, sort of welcoming a fight over that. It clearly messed his head up. He said it didn't, but all you would do, you read Rick Hummel or Derek Gould, and ONeill's talking about it, it's not a pleasant experience. It's in the back of my mind. So he didn't get himself really properly set up mentally for the season because of that big distraction. And, it's a weird time. You have one good year, and it's like, oh, okay, so I'm going to hire Boras now. We're going to war, baby. I'm sorry, man. You stake out that position. That's part of what it's when you talk about holding a guy accountable, that's part of the story this year. I got nothing against Tyler ONeill, but I'd like to think I'm a truth teller when it comes to stuff like this. So he didn't start the season in a good place mentally, and then it only got worse from there. And it's injury, another one. And there have been many streaks where he's really, really good. He looks like last year you think he's on his way, and then he recedes again. His last 11 games before the latest injury, 1 home run and a 194 batting average. And I mean, it's like I was joking Friday. I made Jim Hewer laugh, so that's all that counts. I mean, Tyler ONeill, it's like someone in St. Louis who must take the bus to work every day or whatever. St. Louis County as well. Sometimes, despite the best efforts made by the bus drivers, sometimes those things run late. And you stand there and you look. And you're like, well, where's the bus? I've been waiting. How long you been waiting for the bus? Oh, I've been waiting for mine, for an hour. Well, I've been waiting for an hour and 30 minutes, That's like Tyler ONeill. We're always waiting for the damn bus, And my patience is thin at this point. It really is. The problem here is that, again, do we trust Carlson? Do we have faith in Carlson to finish strong? I hope he does. I think there's a chance. I can't count on it. I think it would be naive at this point. ONeill, first of all, when is he going to be back from yet another hamstring injury? I mean, so is he even going to be back by the end of the regular season? To be determined, but there's no real reason to have a lot of confidence in him. And then they're moving other guys around. Like Nootbaar had an incredible run, but, he's over a stretch of games going back into late August. He's hitting 117. He's striking out a bunch. Gorman has stopped hitting. He doesn't play the outfield anyway. But they brought up Alec Burleson, who I really appreciate his contact skills. He doesn't strike out. I think he's a smart hitter. There's no muscle behind his swings, though. He does not hit the ball hard. I mean, he does not hit for authority. Not yet. That could change. It's too early to judge him. But so far, and Ali Marmol has given him, a lot of playing time here. He's just not hitting the ball hard anywhere, or I should say never, but very rarely does he. So they're hoping that he got something going. He really hasn't. Corey Dickerson's starting to cool off, and by the way, I think he's entitled to cool off. And when I say cool off, he's still hitting 275 over the last 15 games. It's just that his on base and his slugging have dropped over that time. So my point is, and I had to go the long way to get to the point because we had to sort of give the backdrop here. Think about how great that outfield was late last season, second half in particular, final 3 months, but especially mid-August to the end of the regular season. Just phenomenal. And just like that, it's all falling apart again. And how many years, like Will Leach said today on Seeing Red, that you can get at 590thefan.com or the 590 The Fan app. We have a new one that dropped today. Just like Will Leach said, he basically said, how many years have we all been talking about the St. Louis Cardinals outfielder? It's like the thing that never gets settled. And once you think that it's settled, like last season, once they all got on the field together, no, it wasn't settled. Here we go again. It's like an amazing thing, isn't it? That it's just this constant change. And, guys that they build up that let them down, and then, it's time for some new guys. I don't know, man. It's frustrating if you're a Cardinals fan.
Yeah, I'm there with you on the outfield. What Will said is 100% accurate. It's like, it's going to be this group. Well, okay, that guy failed. But the next two, and then you wait, and you give them their chance. Yeah, but wait, what about these new guys that are coming? I mean, You're just going through that whole process. And to your point, the outfield may be the most concerning thing for me for the Cardinals moving forward. I'm in agreement that if Goldie and Arenado aren't hitting, it doesn't matter. But the reason I'm more concerned about the outfield, Bernie, is I don't know if those guys can get it back. I'm more confident that Goldie and Arenado can find the swing and they'll get it back.
That's right.
The outfield group right now, like you, kept waiting for ONeill going, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. He teased you for about 2 days, and then he's back down again. And we find out, over the weekend, he pulled the hamstring. He's hurt again. I'm like, how is that? That's not – again, we're back to the same boat. He's hurt for a while. We're going to hope that he gets back healthy. And then Carlson, I'm almost to the point, Bernie, where I go, this is a throwaway season, and I'll have to reevaluate what happens next year. Because,
I think that's fair. I think that's just. I do.
And to that point then is – I don't even know if he can find something to where you're confident he can help you in the playoffs at this point. I'm hopeful, but I just don't know. With a thumb, those things just never heal properly. And Lars, he had a great stretch, but there's nothing there to make me believe he can sustain that for a long period of time. So I'm not overly confident he'll find what he had back in August and July, where you're going, hey, he's taken that opportunity in right field and run with it. So that's why I'm more concerned about the outfield. It's like, I don't know. There's not enough track record to make me believe any of those guys will find it again. But we'll see.
And, the thing about Carlson, which is, just tremendously disappointing, he's had 312 plate appearances against right-handed pitching this year. That's a lot. He's hitting 207 against them. His on-base percentage is below 300, which is absolutely terrible. And his slugging percentage is only 338, which is terrible. A 627 OPS. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And I've mentioned this before, and I'm going to say it again. I'm rooting for Dylan Carlson. I've been kind of a Dylan Carlson honk for a long time. I mean, even in Double-A, I'd be on my other radio show at the time, talking about what he did at High A or Double-A. And people are looking at me like, why does he keep talking about this guy? Because I thought he was really going to be special, and I still think he can be. Here's the thing about this that surprises me. He did better against right-handed pitching in the second half of last year. And then this year against right-handed pitching, he's basically fallen off a cliff. And here's what I don't understand, and I mean this stuff sincerely. I know he's a smart guy. I mean, he grew up in a baseball family. His dad is a great coach that's actually coached future Major League players. He is, not only does Dylan have an advanced aptitude about playing baseball, I mean, he really is beyond his years that way. At least that's the way he has been. And he's the son of a coach, so he is surrounded by people that know baseball, know how to fix things, know what he needs to do. How do I close that hole against right-handed pitching? I mean, his dad alone should be able to show him the way. And the Cardinals have 3 different hitting coaches. Surely, I know that one of our traditions in St. Louis, it's the hitting coach is to be fired, perhaps even tortured, and then sent to prison. I know that. So forgive me for going against the established norms here in St. Louis about hitting coaches, but it's amazing to me. Like, you have a smart kid with just a great baseball man as a father. And you have this advanced hitting program. You have all these different coaches. Whatever the player prefers, he can go to that coach. But yet no one can figure out a way to fix him against right-handed pitching. I am absolutely astonished by this. I mean, I really am. It makes no sense to me.
It is perplexing. That's why I'm not even confident that we'll see Dylan Carlson able to contribute. There's not enough there. And I'm like you, Bernie. I thought Dylan Carlson was going to have a big year, a much better year than the year before. And then let's blame the hitting coach.
Of course. You know, absolutely.
It's all his fault.